Alright, so in the greenhouse, tomatoes are just growing at an alarming rate. Hasn't been too hot, so that's been good, although it is pretty warm today. These are the Juliet grape tomatoes. Here, let me zoom back a little bit. So they come up about, I don't know, almost halfway up, chest high. There's a bunch of blooms. I hand pollinated the other day, even though it's been pretty windy. That's the disadvantage to having basically a sealed greenhouse. You don't get the pollinators flying in here, so that just is what it is. Looks like the big Bertha peppers got some flowers going on down in there. I've got to get in today and trim up all the tomato plants. They're really crowded at the bottom, so you can't see anything that's going on. You can't really service the hoses or anything, and the plants, you don't need to have dozens and dozens and dozens of leaves and just leaf branches, right? So I'd like to put more of that plant energy into growing food and not foliage. I didn't get around to topping the pepper plants. I could do that there next round once they get a little bigger here on the top. Not gonna hurt it if I don't, but get a little more yield if I get the plants topped. So other than that, this is a quick buzz through of the greenhouse, and then let's use this tomato plant as an example, seeing how busy and full it is here at the bottom. And same thing with these Juliet. So these are the Juliet grape tomatoes, and then these three are the cherry tomatoes. The red lunchbox pepper is doing really well. It hit a giant growth spurt this last week. And then the orange one, that one was runty to start with, so that's about half its height. So hopefully in a week or so it'll be, I don't know, we'll say about this high. We'll see. And that's the Serrano chili, so it's doing okay. Then all of these bobcats, you can see the spray foam hanging out in there. So anyways, the bobcats, so these tomatoes, they're supposed to be a determinant. As you can see, they're not getting real tall. I'm not sure if that's the extent of their growth, but they're also sitting, I don't know, a good 8 inches in the bucket. So this might be as tall as they're going to get. I mean, these are a little bit shorter than these, but they don't seem to be getting any taller, which is kind of the idea of the determinant, right? Is not to grow like these cherry tomatoes. I mean, again, they're sitting, in the buckets. We'll see the base of the plant's 1.5 feet off the ground, then whatever it is in the bucket and up. But when you get up to this height, right here, this is about nose height, give or take. On the Sutton's Days channel, we always joke, the big joke is I am 5'15". Heard that a long time ago. Somebody was not on the channel, but somebody was talking to a kid. It's like, how tall are you? Oh, I'm 5'15". Oh, my daddy's taller than you. He's 6 foot. It's like, so that's just kind of the running joke of how many inches. But anyways, when you're looking at a tomato plant this tall, this is at least 6 or 8 inches taller than a Teresa Dean. So if by chance anybody's watching it and knows who that is, leave a comment in the section below, and we can have a good laugh at that. So we'll see who's paying attention and who's not. not a lot of views on the channel yet, so we'll see. Anyways, I've got to get in and clean the bottoms of these out. But these, anyways, so what I was talking about is, so these are a short, stockier, bushier plant. A lot of blossoms coming out. No, not the dandelions in the grass. Lots of blossoms on all the plants. And I was in hand pollinating the other day. Probably gonna come out a couple times a week and make sure that I do that. This one's leaning a little funny, but the plant's healthy. I've got it strung up pretty straight, but I guess I could grab the strings and you know, slide the plant over a little bit. That's not going to hurt anything, but it's just wanting to lean in that direction. So I'll probably try to slide it a little bit, just so in case I have to get back in there, I can get back in there. But or then I'll come do a quick update later after I clean out and trim all the bottoms of the tomato plants. The only cool thing was, and it was hiding in here, is there's actually a tomato started. So that's about the size of a large cherry tomato right now. And these get to be, I believe, close to, I don't know, 10, 12 ounce, about a good 3-inch tomato, based off of the ones I bought from this gentleman. I don't know, about an hour, 45 minutes from here, 30 minutes. And he was growing these, so I took the seeds out of the tomatoes that I got from this guy. I got about 3.5 cases, and this is what I canned last year, and they came out really well. So I figured I'd give them a shot. We'll see what happens, how fast they grow in this heat. You got to figure that's end of the first week in May-ish. And it's already hitting, this last week it hit 90 some odd degrees on one of the days, and it's supposed to hit like 93 this week. So hopefully that will taper off, give me a good month or month and a half. So put me towards end of June before it gets too hot, but we'll see what happens. Unexpected update before I started doing all the trimming. I was in here inspecting the plants, and here, let's try if we can zoom in and make it focus. So here's the start of the aphids on the pepper plant, and there's a bunch there. So it's just starting on this plant, and I haven't seen any on this one. Hey, you know, there's a ladybug. I gotta make sure I don't nuke her. So time to mix up some bug spray. So I have one of these, I don't know, what's this, a gallon? Is this a 2 gallon? That's a 1 gallon sprayer. You can pick them up $4 to $15. They have cheaper ones. I think I got this one for $10 on Amazon a couple years ago. So anyways, what we're gonna do is take a gallon of water. I'm gonna take 2 tablespoons of neem oil. And there's actually instructions inside. So neem oil, this is concentrated, it's about $9. I think I'm on year 2 or 3. And about a teaspoon-ish of dishwashing soap. So the dishwashing soap helps the spray stick to the leaves. And then the neem oil, basically it not only, depending on the type of bug, it'll either drown the bug or make it so they don't like the taste of whatever you spray on it. It's pretty much more drowning it. So anyways, so quick mix and a spray. You want to spray, I think it's like every 3 days. I used to spray every day and I killed off some plants. So anyways, so that's gonna get wedged in here in the middle. All right, going to just wrap this up for the week and kind of go from there. So a little bit cleaner at the bottom. Since these are cherry tomatoes, I didn't completely scrub out the bottom. Actually finding more and more as I poke around in here. So there's a little tomato going on right there. that, the biggest thing that I've been finding out this last week is I've got to check these buckets daily. A lot of the feeder tubes were from last year, and apparently they had some roots hiding in there that I couldn't see, so I've had 3 today fail. And although the plants were not wilty, they were a little bit, but it wasn't obvious that they were wilty, so by tomorrow they would be. Just got to keep checking on the plants. I cleaned up the pepper plants a little bit at the bottom as well. These plants are a little bit small. I had to take out some of the big leaves. Nothing else, just like I said, these are short and stocky, so I didn't do a lot of trimming, did a little bit. You can kind of see inside. That's one of the tomatoes that I'm aware of. And then I was poking around, and one of these other plants had one about the same size. Not that it really matters, but yeah, so there's tomatoes. Imagine that, right? All this growth, and there's actually tomatoes hanging out. That's really it. Like I said, just doing a little cleanup on the bottom. Here's one of the ones that I had to fix. The cable or the tube's extra long because that was one of the ones that were going to the fence post. So what I need to do is, and what I had set up when I had the cheap drip line instead of the PVC feeder tube, is basically all of these had 2 tubes. So I need to get around to basically doubling up on all the tubes. Like these, there's already the 4 holes from the feeder tubes, so I've got 2 going to both of these, so I need to double up on a bunch of these, and that way they've got 2 tubes going, because I'm cycling 24/7 and you can hear it. There's just a constant flow, and nothing's going to overflow. It just comes out the exhaust and back down. So I guess that's what I need to plan for this next week coming up, as the plants are getting bigger, and there's going to be roots growing from these plants going back up in the tubes as well. So other than that, on that note, the only other thing I noticed as I was trimming and cleaning out some of the foliage in here is, see if I can't even spot it from here. That's hilarious. Oh, there we go. There is a grape tomato hanging out in there. There's actually a couple of them. So there's one there, and there's one hanging out over there. So that's cool. We got some tomatoes are going, and they're going to start ripening. So give it a couple of weeks, and I'll be able to eat those grape tomatoes. These ones on this side, they've got to get a lot bigger. So other than that, that's it for this batch, or this round, this episode, whatever you want to call it. I'm outie.